All right, thanks, Jay. Let's welcome in to Tom Shatel on Zoom. Sports columnist, of course, from the Omaha World Herald. Tom, you called Tony White's move to Florida State a chess move this week. Is it a good one? Is it a bad one? Was it checkmate? Was it just a check? What was it?
I think it was a surprising move in some ways. Not that he left. I mean, I think we've known for 2 years now he was on the way. He's on the way to somewhere else. But that staff's on the hot seat already, and they're they got a lot of work to do to I get to where they're going to be safe. So I wish Tony luck. I think he was very good for Nebraska, but he's going into a tough spot.
Tom, I agree. I think who's ever stepping in to fill those shoes next has some big ones to fill. But sticking with who's going to fill in, do you have a kind of a feel what Coach Rhule wants to go in the past? He's liked to kind of bring in guys from inside, but with how things have been, Tony's only been here a couple of years. John Butler potentially. How's your feel who a potential replacement could be to fill those shoes of Tony White?
Well, John Butler's the obvious name because he's been a coordinator before. And he's been around college football, NFL, obviously. He's been on the staff. I wonder, do we know anything about Terrence Knighton yet? Is he definitely gone? Is there any way I think could make him the coordinator? I'm just asking. I don't know. But because I think he's a very valuable piece to have on the staff. I think it's a Rhule. You're right. He does like to hire people he knows. But I just got a feeling that the staff is not. There's going to be more shakeups. I think. I'm not sure where. I don't have any clues. But Rhule hired this staff at very short notice 2 years ago. He had to do it in a hurry. A lot of these guys were guys he knew and have helped him get the culture built. But I think he's, you got to ask yourself, is this the staff that's going to win in the Big Ten? I think that there's some obvious questions there. But as far as the coordinator, it's a big hire, but just as equally big is getting more players in there who speed, more playmakers. The D line's got to be rebuilt now. So I think that's as big of a deal as the coordinator. Obviously, the coordinator can help you get those guys in the portal. So,
Tom, do you get the sense that Coach Rhule kind of tried it maybe not the Nebraska way, but kept recruiting a lot of high school guys. It was more portal building by supplement. Do you think we may see him kind of go the other way now in terms of revamping the roster completely, or is that kind of a natural answer given who may hit the portal?
Yeah, I think that's a gret question. Obviously they've got to cut it down to the 105 limit now. And there may be more than that who leave. I think he's got to consider that the portal is the way to build. I mean, it's a new world now, and 2 years ago he didn't know. None of us knew what was going to happen to Colorado. Obviously, Indiana. He came in last August with a whole bunch of players, and they got it done with a bunch of older guys that he knew. Rhule couldn't do that 2 years ago. He wasn't in college football. He didn't have a team to bring with him. But I think now it's a lot different than it was 2 years ago. We've seen the impact that the portal can have, good and bad. Right? There's some guys you get who may not pan out. It's a gamble in a lot of ways. But I think, you've got to. I think he's seen how good the Big Ten is. I think he's seen the talent level, what it takes. yeah, you can build and you can try to do it 3 or 4 years, but then a lot of guys you try to build with leave. So, what are you building with? It's a crazy cycle. It drives coaches crazy, and I think he needs to go to the portal more.
Hey, Tom, what's your just feel for the upcoming bowl game? I mean, with nearly 10 players already in the transfer portal that haven't, I mean, the portal hasn't even opened yet, technically, at this point. I mean, what is your feel going into a bowl, maybe in New York, as far as your expectation for what Nebraska might look like, knowing that they could be 20 to 30 players off their roster by that point?
Sean, that's a hell of a question. I wonder for all not just Nebraska, but all bowl teams, and even people in the playoff, would playoff teams lose guys? Probably. I mean, why? Well, why not? I think you're just going to have to make do with whoever's here, and when practice will start next week, see who's around. What I'd like to see is if you're in the portal and you're coming to Nebraska, come now. Be eligible now because and just get them out there somehow. But yeah, they'll be able to fill the team definitely. But yeah, it's going to impact the bowl team, the bowl practices. In a way, it kind of defeats the purpose of the bowl practices are supposed to help build. But if you're in the middle of a transition and everything's fluid, people are coming and going. Again, what are you building? It's hard. So I think, but I think the bottom line is they'll have a solid nucleus, a lot of players who are going to be in the bowl game, who are going to go through practices and help next year. But it's a great question.
Tom, you've seen tons of changes to the conferences. You could have Arizona State win the Big 12. You could have SMU win the ACC. Obviously, you could have Oregon win the Big 10. Is it good for college football, what we're seeing with the schools that are coming from other conferences and coming in the first year having success?
Yes. And Michael, I'm a guy who loves the brand names. Dodgers, Yankees, World Series, I'm all in. The college football playoff, USC, Alabama, so on and so forth. I love the brand names, but the one thing that makes the NCAA basketball tournament work is the Cinderella stories. So why not have some of those in college football playoff? What I'm against is the idea that the Big Ten and the SEC are going to be guaranteed like 4 spots each. You have to earn that, and you don't earn that from 3 years ago or what you did 2 years ago. You earn it now. So I like the idea of an SMU in the playoff, and we'll see Boise State with the running back go up against some people and have to go on the road, or they may get the bye. But I like the way it's set up, but we're still in the first year of this. We don't know how it's going to work.
Yep.
If the SEC doesn't get their 4th, there can be a lot of stomping around on Sunday. That'll be kind of fun.